In a quiet town, surrounded by narrow streets and small houses where everyone seemed to know each other, there lived a young girl named Liyana. She was known for her curious eyes and gentle nature, always asking questions and trying to understand the world around her. From a very young age, her grandmother would lovingly call her the daughter of Eve. At first, Liyana didn't understand what that meant. To her, it sounded like a strange and mysterious title, something from an old story rather than her own life. Whenever she asked about it, her grandmother would simply smile, her eyes full of warmth and wisdom, and say that it meant Liyana carried the strength, kindness, and courage of all the women who came before her. Liyana often sat beside her grandmother in the evenings, listening to stories about the past, stories of women who faced hardships but never gave up, women who showed love even when life was unfair, and women who stood strong when the world tried to push them down. These stories slowly began to shape Liyana's understanding of herself. She started to see that her grandmother wasn't just telling tales, she was passing down a legacy. The name, Daughter of Eve, wasn't just a nickname, it was a reminder that she was part of something much bigger than herself. At home, Liyana watched her mother carefully. Her mother worked long hours but never complained. She always made sure the family was cared for, offering comfort and love even on the hardest days. Liyana noticed the quiet strength in her mother's actions, the way she solved problems without fear, the way she stayed patient when things went wrong, and the way she always put others before herself. These everyday moments taught Liyana powerful lessons without anyone needing to say a word. She began to understand that strength didn't always look loud or dramatic, sometimes it was quiet, steady, and full of love. As Liyana grew, the words "Daughter of Eve" began to feel less confusing and more meaningful. She realized it wasn't about being perfect or always strong. Instead, it was about trying, caring, and standing up again after falling. It was about carrying kindness in her heart and courage in her actions. Even though she was still young, she started to feel proud of the title her grandmother had given her. It made her feel connected, to her family, to her past, and to a future where she could become someone who made a difference, just like the women she had heard about in those quiet evening stories. As Liyana grew older, life began to test her in ways she had never expected. The world outside her small, familiar town felt bigger and more challenging. In school, there were times when her ideas were ignored, and moments when others doubted her abilities simply because she was quiet or different. Some people told her to lower her expectations, to choose easier paths, or to stay in the background. These words hurt her deeply, and there were days when she questioned herself, wondering if she was truly strong enough to face the world. During those difficult moments, Liyana often felt alone. She would sit quietly, thinking about all the obstacles in her way, and sometimes she felt like giving up. But then, she would remember her grandmother's gentle voice and the stories she had heard as a child. She would think about the meaning of being called the Daughter of Eve, and slowly, something inside her would begin to change. Instead of focusing on her fears, she started to focus on her inner strength. She reminded herself that the women before her had faced even greater challenges and still found a way to move forward. With time, Liyana began to grow more confident. She started speaking up for herself, even when her voice shook. She worked harder in her studies and refused to let doubt define her future. More importantly, she began to notice the struggles of others around her. She saw classmates who felt left out, younger children who needed guidance, and friends who were dealing with their own problems. Instead of turning away, she chose to help them. She offered support, shared kind words, and gave her time to those who needed it most. Through these actions, Liyana discovered something powerful: helping others made her stronger too. Each time she lifted someone else up, she felt a sense of purpose growing within her. The title, Daughter of Eve, no longer felt like just a story from her grandmother, it became a part of her identity. It reminded her that strength is not just about standing alone but also about standing with others. Slowly but surely, Liyana realized that every challenge she faced was shaping her into the person she was meant to become, someone brave, compassionate, and unafraid to make a difference. One day, Liyana was invited to speak at a small gathering in her community, where young girls had come together to learn and share their dreams. At first, she felt nervous standing in front of so many people. Her hands trembled slightly, and her heart beat fast. She wondered if she was truly ready for this moment. But then she took a deep breath and remembered everything she had been through, the doubts, the struggles, and the strength she had discovered within herself. In that moment, she realized that her story might help someone else, just like her grandmother's stories had once helped her. As she began to speak, her voice was soft at first, but it slowly grew stronger with every word. She told the girls about her childhood, about the name her grandmother had given her, and how confusing it once seemed. She explained how life had tested her and how she had often felt like giving up. But she also shared how she found courage by remembering that she was not alone, that she carried the strength of generations before her. She spoke about kindness, about standing up for what is right, and about believing in oneself even when no one else does. The girls listened closely, their eyes filled with emotion and hope. Some of them smiled, while others seemed deep in thought, as if they were seeing their own struggles reflected in Liyana's story. In that moment, Liyana understood something truly important. Being the daughter of Eve was not just about her own journey, it was about inspiring others to see their own strength. It was about reminding them that they, too, were capable of overcoming challenges and creating a better future for themselves. When she finished speaking, the room was quiet for a second, and then it filled with gentle applause. Liyana looked at the faces around her and felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. She realized that the legacy her grandmother had given her was now being passed on to others. The title she once questioned had become her truth. She was not just carrying the strength of the past, she was helping shape the future.